I want to tell you a story about a little family from the 90s, a family known as the Simpsons. Starring in an animated sitcom that bore their name, the Simpsons were a dark reflection of the typical American family. They consisted of the dim-witted father Homer, his nagging wife Marge, their troublesome son Bart, their gifted daughter Lisa, and the ever-silent baby, Maggie. Tuning into their lives every week, the show was staunchly anti-authority, seeking to critique the idealized and fabricated perfect American family, quickly exploding in popularity, nominating and winning several awards. The Simpsons was once one of the greatest shows on television, but is now nothing but stinky poo-poo garbage.
What the hell was that?
Alright, I'm just fucking around. This isn't another video about the rise and decline of The Simpsons. There's plenty of those on YouTube as it is. It's pretty common knowledge at this point that the show is no longer what it once was. A victim of time that lost the creative team that shaped it into the incredible show it was. While the modern show is barely watchable with the rare half-decent episode popping up every other season, The Simpsons as a franchise is still going pretty strong. They still make millions in merchandise sales each year, and I've been told their attraction at Universal Studios is pretty popular. Kinda wanna go visit it myself one of these days. I fell off watching the show like just about everyone else back during the mid-2000s, catching the occasional episode here and there when I still watch cable. That said, I still kinda love The Simpsons. They were a huge part of my life growing up, and I love their merchandise. Especially their bootleg ones. I swear to God, like every flea market I went to would have those bootleg Bart Simpson shirts that made him Jamaican or Puerto Rican. Shit, I recently bought a bootleg Gulf War Bart shirt, which has him pissing on Saddam Hussein. Now that's what I call real art. And of course, I love playing their video games. Though sadly, we don't get any of those anymore. With the most recent one released being that city building mobile game, The Simpsons Tapped Out. Not going to lie, I did spend quite a bit of time on it back in the day, and spent a little more money on it than I'm comfortable admitting. Though not as much as I poured into games like Fortnite or Genshin Impact, which I'm way more ashamed about. Simpsons video games covered the full spectrum in terms of quality, with some being really bad, others pretty decent, and a few that are pretty damn good. And that's what I'm here to discuss today, looking over 3 of the best Simpsons games: The Simpsons Arcade, The Simpsons Road Rage, and The Simpsons Hit and Run. Some of you might also think 2007's The Simpsons game should be up here too, but I never played that game, and I couldn't get a copy in time for this video. That and this video was originally supposed to be on just The Simpsons Hit and Run, until I decided to cover the other 2 games at the last minute. Though if this video does well and there's enough demand in the comments, maybe I'll take a look at the Simpsons games somewhere in the future.
Where's the beef?
You ain't so bad.
Where's the beef?
You ain't so bad.
So I'm kicking off this video with what I consider my favorite and the best of all the various Simpsons games, the Simpsons Arcade game, which, amazingly, was also the very first video game on The Simpsons ever released. Developed by our friends at Konami before the company turned into a corporate hellhole, this game, along with Turtles in Time, were my favorite arcade games growing up. Quick little shout out to my fellow Long Islanders, as if you grew up there during the 90s like me, you know the go-to place for arcade games and other fun was Sports Plus. God, I miss that place. Wish someone was able to swoop in and save it. Now it's just another LA Fitness. My mom actually had a job at Sports Plus for a while, so I'd be there along with my brother and some of my cousins pretty much every weekend. And whenever the machine was free, we'd all team up to play the Simpsons Arcade game. The game was released to arcades and laundromats across the world in March of 1991, right in between the first and second season of the show. Despite dropping so early into the show's run, the game would prove to be really popular, and be one of the highest selling arcade cabinets that year alongside Turtles in Time and Street Fighter II. The Simpsons Arcade game is a 4-player beat-em-up that has you take control of the members of the Simpsons family, with Homer using punches and kicks, Marge fighting with her vacuum cleaner, Bart with his skateboard, and Lisa with a jump rope. In terms of gameplay, it's fairly basic, making only use of 2 buttons, one for attacking and one for jumping. and pressing both buttons at once would also let you do a sort of jumping attack, though you had the option to pair off with one of your friend's characters in order to do specialized moves, the attack of which changes depending on which combination of two Simpsons you're using. There's also some one-off throwable weapons you'll use when running around stages, and the occasional equipable weapon that you can hold on to until it runs out or you change stages. Like most arcade games, the story is barely existent, with the events of the game set off when Mr. Smithers steals a diamond from a jewelry store. He then bumps into the Simpsons and Maggie accidentally takes the jewel, which causes Smithers to grab the baby and run off, with the rest of the Simpsons clan giving chase. Which nowadays, it's kinda super jarring to see Mr. Smithers of all people be the antagonist, and acting so cartoonishly evil, even if he is technically working for Mr. Burns. Hell, even the idea of him robbing a jewelry store for Mr. Burns doesn't make all that much sense considering how rich the old man is. But again, they only had one season of the show to work with here. Nowadays, that probably would have been Sideshow Bob or Snake stealing the jewel. Chasing after Smithers, you'll go through 8 different stages based on locations from the show. The first stage has you going through downtown Springfield, mainly fighting off these random guys in suits, along with some older fat guys who all presumably work for Mr. Burns. While the sprite work isn't as detailed as Turtles in Time, the Simpsons, the enemies they fight, background characters, and the locations themselves are all rather colorful and stand out, doing a good job of capturing the look of the show. The music itself ain't half bad, as you get a few variations of the Simpsons theme, along with some original tracks that suit their individual stages, and add to the chaotic fun of the gameplay, especially if you manage to get a full team of 4 and are playing on an actual arcade cabinet as opposed to an emulator like me. Also, the Simpsons are all voiced by their VAs from the series, providing some grunts, yells, and quotes during the fights. Circling back to the enemies, while you're mostly fighting different colors of the same enemy types like most beat-em-up games, there's a decent amount of variety with some enemies unique to certain stages. For example, in the Krusty Land stage, you'll fight guys dressed as Krusty bouncing on large balls, along with one-eared bunny guys that as a kid I just dismissed as another enemy, but are actually references to Matt Groening's comic strip, Life in Hell. The game throws in another reference to his comic strip too, as if you're playing as Marge and get electrocuted by certain enemies, you'll notice she has 2 large ears under her hair, something Groening apparently wanted to be a big reveal in the final episode of the series. While I like most of the stages and enemies you encounter through the game, there are a few places where it's very lacking, specifically the bosses. Fighting bosses is actually a positive experience, as they all have their own movesets, get more aggressive as you lower their health, but also don't feel cheap or too punishing, even when you're fighting solo. My problem is more with how generic and uninspired they feel in their designs. Like the first boss, a big guy named Professor Werner von Braun. He's fine, and actually canon to the show, as he appeared in a wrestling match in the episode Bart the Daredevil. And yes, I did have to look that up. The big Krusty Balloon fight in the second stage is also fine, as it suits the location of Krusty Land, and is revealed to be some kind of vehicle controlled by Smithers. It's stage 3 where you can tell they're starting to run out of ideas, as it first starts off in a spooky forest before transitioning to a graveyard where you start fighting zombies, which is actually fine. I really like this stage, but instead of keeping with the spooky theme throughout the entire stage, halfway through you'll take an elevator down below that leads to Moe's Tavern. Not sure why Moe decided to move his business beneath the cemetery. Honestly, it makes more sense for Moe's Tavern to be at the end of the first stage, but okay. Though before you can actually go inside, the bosses for stage 3 are these 2 guys in trench coats. It sort of makes sense with the game as they showed up earlier in the first stage, but you'd think we'd get a huge skeleton or zombie boss to fight at the end of a spooky themed level. Stage 4 will have you enter Moe's Tavern, and it's designed really well. And you get cameos from Moe, Barney, Princess Cashmere, and Bleeding Gums Murphy. The boss at the end is another random guy, though I guess he's meant to be some drunk in the bar. Not sure what restrictions they were under and what characters they could or couldn't use in certain ways, but it feels like Barney or even Moe himself would have made way more sense as the boss here. Stage 6, Dreamland, starts off pretty fun. Being a dream level, the developers can essentially do whatever they want with enemies. You're fighting living donuts, flying saxophones, and little demon barts. The boss again is where it feels dull, as it's just a giant bowling ball monster. I get it's probably supposed to be a reference to the episode Life on the Fast Lane, where Marge's bowling instructor Jacques was trying to have an affair with her, but wouldn't it have made more sense to fight a monstrous version of him wielding a bowling ball or something? Also, super random, but I always remembered this being the stage where my brother and I would stop playing as kids. The enemies are definitely a little tougher here because they fly around, and the boss soaks up a ton of damage. But I think we always ran out of quarters around here, and our mom wouldn't give us any more. Going back to the bosses, like I said before, they didn't have a lot of Simpsons content to pull from, since the game was made in between seasons 1 and 2. And, honestly, I'm just being nitpicky. As dumb boss designs aside, they are still plenty of fun to smack around. And the final stage has you fight Smithers, and then different phases of Mr. Burns and a robot, which is a challenging but awesome way to complete the game. And really, that's all I have to say about the Simpsons Arcade. It was a simple but really fun beat-em-up game. Honestly, I think it's criminal it didn't get a port to the SNES or Genesis back in the day. Most it had was ports to the MS-DOS and Commodore 64. Apparently, this might have been Acclaim's fault, as they held the licensing rights to all Simpsons games on consoles. Though the game did get a digital re-release to PSN and Xbox Live back in 2012. But that got taken down after a few years. And then there was a brand new Simpsons Arcade game released on iOS in 2009 that was made by EA. It's long since been removed from mobile stores, and I never got a chance to play it. But it looks okay, if a little cheap. Everything looks like it was designed in Flash as opposed to using sprites. I'm sure there's a way to play it online, but honestly it just doesn't look like it measures up to the first. While the original Simpsons Arcade is fairly accessible to play, assuming you live near a barcade or somewhere that has a cabinet, or know how to use MAME, I would love a proper modern day port. Would be cool to see Konami put together a re-release like they did with Turtles in Time. Maybe some kind of collection with the original and all the different ports. That or just a sequel to the original in the style of Shredder's Revenge. With over 35 years of Simpsons content to pull from, along with more powerful hardware, I could see them easily crafting a game that surpasses the original. Though I doubt it'll ever happen.
Hello, I'm Sergeant Crew, and I'm here to talk to you about road rage.
Duh.
Quiet, fatso. The sergeant's talking. Go on, dear.
So Road Rage is my least favorite of the 3 games featured in this video, and if I'm being honest, might end up getting bumped out of the top 3, if and when I get around to playing 2007's The Simpsons game. Assuming I end up liking that game, of course. Part of it is that I don't really remember playing Road Rage that much as a kid, confusing it a lot with Hit and Run. The other is that it doesn't really stand out that much. Why is that? Well, because it's just Crazy Taxi, but with The Simpsons. Like, I love Crazy Taxi. It's easily in my top 5 favorite Dreamcast games. You play as a taxi driver, picking up patrons and dropping them off at their destinations within a strict time limit. In order to earn your fare, how far a customer needs to go is indicated by the color of the icon above their head, with farther locations netting even more money. While the timer is short, you can add more time to it by continuously picking up and dropping off customers. The driving is fast and chaotic, needing you to swerve around or smash through traffic, looking for shortcuts and catching some air off ramps in order to save as much time as possible. It is all enhanced by its punk rock soundtrack with some classic bangers from Bad Religion and The Offspring. It all comes together to create this engaging and hectic arcade experience, where it's easy to pick up and play and just as easy to lose yourself in trying to surpass your high score for hours. It's a game that's hard to top, something Sega themselves discovered after making a few sequels. So how do you create a unique experience in that genre that would make a player choose your game as opposed to just playing Crazy Taxi? Well, EA and Radical Entertainment thought, what if we just throw in The Simpsons? And that's kinda about it. Okay, there's a little more to it, but how much value there is comes down to if you're a fan of the show or not. The game's story is that Mr. Burns has privatized all of the public transit around Springfield, raising the fares through the roof in order to squeeze the common man for every penny he's got. So the Simpsons, along with most of Springfield, have become taxi drivers in order to stick it to Monty Burns. Gameplay is essentially the same as Crazy Taxi, driving around, picking up fares, and dropping them off at their destinations. The driving doesn't feel as good though, as the cars in Road Rage lack weight, and it feels more like you're gliding on the road. This is more noticeable when you crash into traffic or another object, as you kinda just bounce off of whatever you crashed into, kinda like a bumper car. It's not bad necessarily, as the cars handle well, and it doesn't feel like you're fighting against the controls. It's just not as good as Crazy Taxi. One place I will give Road Rage credit is that the fares you earn serve a bigger purpose than just getting a high score, as the money you collect can be used to unlock more characters, or more stages to drive around in. And while there isn't really a reason to choose one driver over another, outside of your personal preference, you do occasionally get some unique dialogue interactions depending on the driver and passenger. So, that's something, I guess. Road Rage also has the standard free ride mode called Sunday Drive, where you can leisurely drive around at your own pace with no time limit, and a mission mode where you can complete quick little objectives. And that's kind of it. There really isn't a lot there to offer any kind of replay value, especially if you unlocked every character and map. All you really got is the 2-player mode where you can challenge your friend to see who can get the higher score, but not much else. The game feels like more of a novelty, something you play because you're a big fan of The Simpsons, and not so much a fan of the game itself. Hell, Road Rage did so little to differentiate itself from Crazy Taxi that Sega actually ended up suing EA, Fox, and Radical Entertainment for patent infringement. And it looks like they had a strong enough case where all parties involved decided to settle the matter in private for an undisclosed amount. Sorry if I sounded a little harsh on The Simpsons Road Rage, and didn't really have much to say about it. I could totally understand why it has its fans, but for me, it feels a little lacking and uninspired, especially in comparison to the final game in this video, with the Simpsons Hit and Run taking a different and frankly better approach to a Simpsons driving game.
In a city where chaos rules, only one man can save humanity from total destruction. It's up to Homer Simpson and family to save the world from a diabolical plot as they run and drive to unravel the conspiracy.
Blackfinch!
Critics call it the best Simpsons game ever.
Get the lot, dudes.
The Simpsons Hit and Run, rated T for Teen.
I am evil Homer.
And finally, we reached the game that inspired me to make this video in the first place, The Simpsons Hit and Run. A lot of fans would describe the game as a GTA clone or GTA-like, but their similarities are pretty superficial. Hit and Run's world is separated between 3 different areas as opposed to being one big, interconnected open world, like Grand Theft Auto. Despite being able to get out of your car and explore, there's a heavy focus on driving to complete almost all mission objectives. The only place where the two are sorta similar is that you can hop in any car that you see on the road, though technically you're not stealing a car, as the owner sticks around with you, so it's more like borrowing. Honestly, I'd call it more of a hybrid between a driving game and a 3D platformer like SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom, as when you're not behind the wheel, you'll be running around Springfield collecting coins, Buzz Cola cards, and destroying robot bees. The game's plot centers around those aforementioned robot bees, as you'll play as each member of the Simpsons family in 7 separate levels in order to uncover the mystery of where they came from and what their purpose is. Also, Apu joins in to help as well. Spoilers, I guess. Turns out the robot bees were deployed by the aliens Kang and Kodos, who are using them to record humanity for intergalactic TV, exactly like that one episode of South Park.
What did we do?
Oh man, I can't believe I sucked your jag-on.
Oh God, we did suck each other's jag-ons. You kids won't tell anybody about this, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the story is kind of whatever, like the last 2 games, but it's the gameplay where it really shines and helps it surpass Road Rage. For one, the driving is a lot smoother. The various cars actually feel different from each other now, with varying levels in speed, acceleration, toughness, and handling. Also, you're no longer limited to 1 car per character, as outside of borrowing some random person's car, you can also buy cars using the coins you collect, or unlock cars by doing bonus missions that pop up in each level. Thanks to being more of its own thing as opposed to being a direct clone of another game like Road Rage, you have some actual gameplay variety. You got racing missions, tailing missions, collecting a bunch of items within a time limit, smashing into a target car until you destroy it, and sometimes having to outrun someone chasing you. It's not a crazy amount of variety, but enough where it doesn't feel boring or get too repetitive. Also, some objectives can be pretty tough and require you to have a good understanding of the map and where the available shortcuts are in order to complete them. Missions are also doled out by the citizens of Springfield, who get voice dialogue and a bit of participation in the plot too, as opposed to a few recycled voice lines you'll hear them say over and over again, while picking them up and driving them around town like in the last game. Admittedly, exploring around the world on foot can feel a bit lacking. The game very rarely gives you an objective that needs you to huff it on foot, outside of the collectibles you can find and a few things you can interact with to get a funny animation or line. That's about it. At least cars aren't the only thing you can buy, as the coins you find can be used to place bets on races to make even more money, or buy new costumes for your characters, with such classics as Moo Moo Homer, Florida Lisa, and my favorite, Classy Marge.
Oh, you look so sophisticated, just like Mary Hart.
Underrated cartoon mom, in my opinion. The costumes aren't solely fun unlockables though, as you can't progress a few missions unless your character is wearing a particular outfit or owns a certain car. So the open world doesn't feel pointless, as you'll need to run around and look for coins to continue the game. But at the same time, I can't help but feel they could have done a little more. Maybe some platform challenges or something that you need to complete under a time limit. The music at the very least is a step up from Road Rage, with each playable character getting their own walking and driving theme, with a couple unique tracks scattered throughout. The game is also much longer than the last two games, as while you can breeze through the story in a few hours, all the races, bonus missions, and unlockables stretch out its length and add some great replay value. Throw in some great voice acting from the cast of the show, some serious jokes and references, and some decent graphics for the time, and the Simpsons Hit and Run is overall a pretty solid experience. It's easily the most fleshed out and put together Simpsons game ever released, one that created a truly unique experience. Is it any wonder so many hold this game as their favorite Simpsons game? After playing all three of these back to back, my inner Simpsons fan has been reawakened. I'm left feeling nostalgic for the days when I was a kid, patiently waiting in front of the TV for Seinfeld or whatever else was on to end, so I could catch the wacky antics of my favorite TV family. While I couldn't play it in time for this video, I think I will give the Simpsons game 2007 a chance, somewhere down the line. Don't know if it will give me enough to make a solo video on it, but I'm fine just playing and enjoying it for my own sake. That, or maybe I'll make another video in this format and pair it with the Family Guy and Futurama games. Maybe.
Say the line, Bart!
And that's the video. Thanks for watching, guys. Shout out to my YouTube members for supporting the channel, with my tier 2 supporters up on the screen right now. Still trying to work out what I want to do with the channel memberships and the eventual Patreon, but I've got some ideas that I hope everyone will end up liking. It was fun to try something a little different from my usual long-form review style. There's a lot of games I want to talk about, though due to their shorter length or simpler gameplay, it doesn't give you much to discuss. So pulling together several games into one video feels like a good compromise. So if this video does well and there's enough demand for it, I might do this more often. Thanks for the views, likes, and comments on the Mafia 2 video, by the way. Despite losing the fight on trying to get its demonetization overturned, it still performed well. I have no idea what about the video that set off the demonetization bots, as the only answer I got after a manual review was too much harsh language. And that's with me muting all the F-bombs and slurs that pop up in cutscenes. Maybe it's just something with Mafia 2 as a game that sets it off. Either way, YouTube is going to be YouTube, so best I can do is not dwell on it and just move on to the next project. Also, more incentive to work on the memberships and Patreon so I'm not relying on AdSense. That, and if I'm going to have to censor future videos, I think I'm going to start making uncensored versions for you guys to watch too. Once I got the logistics of all that worked out, I'll update you guys. I've started recording the next game for the channel. Not going to say what it is this time, but I'll announce it on the community tab when it's close to release. Hope to have it out next week, as I want to take a tiny break to play through Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'm already stressing its release, mostly because I'm playing Persona 3 Reload at the moment, and there's no way I'm going to be done with it in time. I'm terrible at juggling multiple games, especially when I'm working on something for the channel, so I don't want to lose another game to my never-ending backlog. I really gotta learn how to multitask and manage my time better. Thanks for watching, folks. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like and comment down below. Which Simpsons game is your favorite? Are you still watching newer seasons of the show or sticking to the old stuff? And if you're new to the channel, I'd appreciate it if you subscribed. Also, check out whatever the recommended video is here at the end. I'm FuzzySlippers, and I'll see you later. Peace.